Hello and welcome to Atomic Radio Hour, episode 259. How you doing? What's going on? Some things I want to talk to you about today. Fun bit of lore, something I'm surprised I've never done before, and the perils of transport, the perils of driving in the third segment of today's program. Welcome to the show. My name is Vince, your host. You look fantastic. First, I just want to jump right into this Microsoft thing. So, I've been talking about this for a while, and Microsoft has been trying to buy out Activision and Blizzard. And I have some notes that I'm going to go over, and I'm going to quote everything from the tweets that Kyle has sent me. But it pretty much has come out that Microsoft's entire plan was to destroy PlayStation. They wanted to get rid of PlayStation completely, and they can't. The Brits were doing something where they were saying it was blocked, and then it got opened back up again, and now the Federal Trade Commission of the U.S. is saying this is a monopoly and is getting involved. So let's just get into it. Playing into this, we're gonna get I got a notification on my phone from Twitter, but this is from Tom Warren. A verified account, but that doesn't mean anything anymore. The senior editor at The Verge. Okay, cool. Bethesda just revealed that Indiana Jones is an Xbox and PC exclusive. It's coming to Game Pass day one, but Disney had a contract for multiple consoles before Microsoft's Bethesda acquisition. Right? That's just the tweet. I'm not going to read super deep into the tweet. Kyle sent me a series of tweets by a fan named Stephen Totlio. Totlio? Totlio? Prior to the ZeniMax transaction, Starfield and Redfall were originally planned. Before anything, it was supposed to be on. Starfield is supposed to be on PS5, but then it got bought out, and now it's on Xbox and PC. Again, same fella, Microsoft says Redfall and Starfield are PC/Xbox only, keeping with the need to offer some exclusive content while mitigating the economic cost and damage to its player-focused brand. Redfall, quote, generated minimal sales, end quote, and, quote, many other, end quote, future ZeniMax titles will be shipped with PS and Nintendo. Again, Steven again. That's the opening arguments during the FTC case, where it all sounded like they briefly showed Microsoft's Call of Duty deal offer to Sony before Sony lawyers objected and the court pulled it from the view. FTC lawyers are questioning Bethesda's Pete Hines, confirming that Disney had a deal for the Indiana Jones game that'd be for multiple consoles. Hines confirmed. The FTC says deals were amended post-acquisition only to be on Xbox. I didn't know that Disney until this happened. I didn't know that Disney owned Indiana Jones. This is Kyle was saying that should be proof enough on its own, and I'm like, yeah, this is a huge story. Sony's Jim Ryan said, this is from Charlie Intel on Twitter. Sony's Jim Ryan said in a disposition back in April that if Microsoft's acquisition of Activision happens, Sony won't share any PlayStation 6 information with Activision developers, saying they would not be able to share relevant future console info to a developer owned by a competitor. Oh, wow, that's a really good point. I didn't even think of that. Why would they say, okay, hey, Activision is going to make Call of Duty for PlayStation, but I can't give it to them because then they're going to know what we're going to have and they can make a stronger console. I don't want to say that that's corporate espionage, but that might be corporate espionage. Do you think this collaboration with Activision, this is a question from James Ryan, highly confidential, April 6th, 2023. This is just a bunch of documents, some questionings from him. Question. Do you think that this collaboration with Activision has led to better features on the PlayStation's Gen 5 console? Jim Ryan answers with, I believe that to be the case, and questioned, yeah, it just seems like it's not going to go through, and it seems like it's not going to go through for the best reasons. We have the Federal Trade Commission. We have things to stop monopolies in this country, and it seems like it's not going to go through now. I hope it doesn't. I'm happy that this is being taken care of. We also have a bunch of people that are starving in my country. We have a bunch of places in my country in the United States, that doesn't have clean water. We have a bunch of people that are homeless with mental health problems. We also have mass shootings on a massive scale. There's like 3 a day. I'm pulling that number out of my ass, but I'm probably not far off. So I'm just happy that billionaires are being told that they're making enough already, and they don't need to be making too much more. But they can make more if they want, just not too much. Speaking of people with too much money, I want to talk about this submarine thing real quick. How do you get lost in a submarine? Swim up. Go up. It's not like it's a maze. When you go in water, there's 2 directions, up and down. You can go around things, but I'm saying, like, you want to be in water or out of water. In water, go down. Out, go up. How do you get lost? And then I saw this video. It's like a tube. It's like a massive tube with 1 button, and they control it with a Mad Catz controller. So you're telling me the controller I give to my friend who I don't really like, or my little brother, unplug so he thinks he's playing while I'm playing a video game? So you're controlling a submarine with? And then I find out that the inside depressurized and essentially like collapsed upon itself. So if anybody was even alive after it collapsed, they drowned to death. Like, I'm just so happy that like tax money will be spent on them being found, like their bodies being found, the corpses being found. Like, I'm just so glad that that's what that's going to come to. It's just wild. Just absolutely insane that that's like a thing that happened. Here's my other thing about this. So for those who don't know about this submarine thing, that they wanted to go see the Titanic ruins in 2023. Who cares about the Titanic in 2023? It was cool when it happened. And then we all watched the movie and pretended like we cared for the year before, the year during, and the year after. Nobody cares about the Titanic. Why would we? They switched the names of the boats last minute. Look this up. I don't know the name of it. I don't know the whole story. I knew there was a kid that I went to school with who loved the Titanic, and I remember making fun of him a lot. And he sat in front of my one class and talked. He was like a year too older than me. His name was Alex. This kid Alex sat in front of my classroom, and for like an hour and change, I think this was done over 2 days, so it might have been even longer, talked about the Titanic. And I remember just being like, dog, it was a ship that went down. They cut every single corner they could cut. They cut so many corners, it was a circle. Like, they cut every corner. It was nothing but rich people. Then it went up and snapped in half and fell down. Like, why would you why would you care about finding it? Like, James Cameron went down there. Why? I just don't see the intrigue. Like, all that money to go look at the remains of a ship? And it's on a ship that's put together with chewing gum and duct tape? You kidding me? Just silly. Just absolutely silly. I'm like disgusted that I know about that. And today I saw something that there was a bunch of refugees off the coast of Greece that went down on a ship that had people from Egypt and Syria, refugees from Egypt and Syria and Palestine and a bunch of other countries. And that was like not covered whatsoever. But 5 billionaires want to go look at the remains of a boat that, again, who cares about the Titanic in this, like imagine, I can't even try to fathom an equivalent because of how dumb I think it is. It's a Titanic. It's a cruise ship. What did the Titanic do for us as a culture? Give us a shitty movie? I do like in the end of that movie when the ship's going down, someone falls off the back and there's the propeller and they smack their legs off the propeller and they do like 40 flips where they hit the water. Killed me as a kid. I remember thinking that was the funniest thing on the planet. There's some people I have to thank quick because I need to get into this lore. And before I get into this week's lore, I have to thank the Patreon. So to the Patreon, I want to say thank you. Because of you guys, the show continues to get bigger and better in every shape, form, and fashion. And I have to thank you real quick. So starting from the top, I have to thank the OG Noah. Thank you, Noah. After Noah, I have to thank Danny. Thank you, Danny. After Danny, I have to thank Marcus. Thank you, Marcus. After Marcus, I have to thank Mellow Millhouse. Thank you to Mellow Millhouse. And last but certainly not least, I have to thank Captain Lennox. Thank you to Captain Lennox. Without you guys, the show is not possible. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Now, this week, I'm going to get into, in the third segment, what's been going on with me, because it's been a lot, just travel-wise. But this week, I didn't have everything planned out the way I usually have everything planned out because of my travel stuff. I needed to take a bit of a vacation. I haven't really been away in a while, and, the weight of the world gets to be a tad much after a while. So I picked something that I thought would be fun. It's not by way of Patreon. It's by way of me. But I picked something that I thought would be rather fun. So if you'd like to hear any sort of lore, if you want your voice to be heard in any which way, make sure you're part of the Patreon. Because even at the $1 tier, the cheapest tier that I can even put on Patreon, your voice can be heard picking the week's lore. So this week, I chose lore. And this week's lore is on Codsworth from Fallout 4. Now, Codsworth is a great companion. For multiple reasons. One of them being that he just kind of carries a tradition in my mind when it comes to the Fallout games. He carries a tradition of something that's non-human that follows you around, something that you can interact with. And I'm always a big fan of when I can have somebody that isn't just a robot that's with me. That isn't just a human that's with me, because it adds an extra element. It adds an extra little bit of something else that's a little different. It makes the post-apocalyptic sci-fi world feel a little more real. And I don't mean real in the sense that it could happen in my world, but real in the sense that I feel like I'm in a sci-fi world. I have a feeling when Starfield comes out, Vasco is going to be like my guy for a while. Just because it's a robot, that's my buddy. Now, he's the sole survivor's domesticated Mr. Handy, the domestic model of a Mr. Handy. He's part butler and part friend. He was the sole survivor's family butler until 2277, up until 2287. You can retrieve him by exiting the vault and starting the quest out of time. And I think we all remember, if you were hyped for Fallout 4 when it first got announced, that Fallout 4 started with, that E3 started with showing us gameplay of the Soul Survivor speaking to Cogsworth and showing the voiced protagonist and showing how the dialogue system was going to work and him talking to you about everything and saying like, oh, sir, I've missed you. He was purchased not long before October 23rd of 2077 and is left behind because the Vault Tech rep says that you cannot take robots inside of the vault. They were not permitted inside. Once you meet up with Cogsworth again, he seems happy. He seems delighted. He seems so excited to not only see you, but that he's been just doing his job. And for the first 10 years of the war, he kept the nuclear fallout tainted floors waxed, he dusted the collapsed house, and he polished the rusted out car. 2 centuries of isolation have actually put him inside of a deep, deep depression. He tries hard to cope by pretending that nothing ever really happened, and he's tried to visit Concord a couple times, which is just the next town over, but he said that he's been pummeled with sticks a few times, and on a few occasions he's been shot. Just some fun notes for you. You could take Cogsworth with you wherever you want out into the wasteland. He becomes one of my favorite companions after the Mechanist, the Automatron update, because you can modify him. And mine is like a full-on sentry bot with like a nuke launcher and a human skull, just like for a face. He's cool. I like Cogsworth a lot. But just some notes for you. I said prior that he can say the sole survivor's name. He could say over 900 different names. Some of them get shortened, some of them get elongated, but he can say a bunch of different names. I remember that being a big thing. I don't remember if he can say mine, but I remember him saying Olives and being like, how you and not me? But he also says like face and like Mr. Titties and a bunch of silly stuff like that. Vasco does it too now. He's armored with a circular saw and a flamethrower, much like all other Mr. Handys. He's one of the only few robots that acknowledge the Great War. Now, the wiki, I get all of my lore off of fallout.fandom.com, the Nukipedia, if you will. It says that the only 3 others that acknowledge it are Captain Ironsides, Curie, and the supervisors of Grey Garden, and that's all Fallout 4 stuff, so I don't know if it's the only robots in Fallout 4 or if robots acknowledge it in other games. I wasn't quite sure. If you go into water and you have Cogsworth with you, he'll actually float above it. He won't dive in, which makes sense because he has a little jet that he's propelled by. And he can wear a bowler hat, which I remember the way we found out about that when we were all playing in my friend group was Kyle messaged us, and he was like, because he says, like, oh, something, I'll eat my hat. And Kyle went, no way. And, like, gave him a hat, and he put it on. I remember that vividly. That's just about everything I have on Cogsworth. Man's second best friend next to Dogmeat, man. Really, really enjoy Cogsworth's presence in the game. He only shows up in Fallout 4, Fallout the board game, and Fallout Wasteland Warfare as a character. He's a staple, I feel like. Not even just him, but Mr. Handy's are just such a staple of the Fallout universe, and I'm just like so excited to see how they show up in the show. I'm excited to see how they show up in future games. But that, my friends, is this week's lore. Hey everybody, welcome to the third segment of the program. The segment where we just kind of hang out, we talk, we chill. If there's anything going on other than, like submarines and Xbox acquisitions, we'll talk about it a little bit here. I just got back from vacation. I went to Florida for a couple days with some friends, and I'm usually like a world-class flyer. I shouldn't say that, but I pride myself on being a good flyer. I'm always there 2 hours ahead of time. I'm always ready to rock. I'm always ready to roll, too. And I got there later than I wanted to. I almost missed my flight. I almost never fly during the day. I'm either incredibly early morning or incredibly late at night. Like, I get the last flights of the day all the time. I'll take the 11:55 flight anywhere because I know, like, okay, I can go to work, do everything I got to do, hit the airport, and then fly somewhere. I got the whole next day. Like, that's how I like to fly usually. So I fly out, and I almost missed the flight, but I was cutting it close. Like, if I was like 10 minutes later, I would have missed my flight, but I've never missed a flight. I don't ever plan on missing a flight. Then, I get to Florida, and it's great. It's hot. It's humid. It's everything that you'd expect. I was in the water. I was in the ocean, and I swam in the pool. I ate decent. Like, I had this great sushi. It was 2 types of tuna and salmon. I love sushi, man. I love seafood. The older I get, the more I appreciate it. I wanted some shrimp, but I want to get... Anyway, I just had a good time. I went. And then I get to the airport 2.5 hours early to leave Florida. This is Tampa, Florida, going towards Denver. And I'm like, all right, let me just get in the airport. Let me do what I got to do, this and that. Like, I know how to fly. Like, and I make sure that I'm going to be there early this time. So I get there, and it's me and another person. And as we pull up and get dropped off, the flight gets delayed by like an hour. And then an hour later, it gets delayed by another hour. And then it gets delayed to the point where I took off at, I want to say like 5 and change, and I didn't land in Denver till like, it was like just about 9. It was like 8:50 something. And mind you, I have to cross 2 time zones, so I'm it's late. And my day goes from being a 24-hour day to a 26-hour day, so you feel it. And we land in Denver, and I've never seen so much rain. There was so much rain in Denver. There was so much hail. There was all this, right? And it was like this in Florida. It was bad. It was real, real bad. And I'm just scared. Like, because we get out, and then I got to go to where we parked the car. And we parked the car, and it's like 4 rows away from where the bus lets you out. So me running... And I run. That's my preferred form of exercise. I run from the bus terminal to the car in a minute and a half, if that. Soaked. Just absolutely just soaked to the bone. Get in the car, drive out. You can't see a damn thing. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do? I got to leave. Like, I can't sit here. So I go to leave, and I'm driving, and I'm driving, and I'm driving. And I never took flash flood warnings seriously. I always thought flash flood warnings were like salmonella. I've never heard of anybody dying in a flash flood. I've never heard of anyone being hurt in a flash flood. The same way I've never heard anybody getting like salmonella and dying. I just thought it was horseshit. So I'm driving through, and there's a point in some of the roads where it dips, and the car doesn't want to move. So it's pouring. It's just coming down. It's scary. And I'm trying to just play it cool, man. I'm just trying to just be like calm little babies, like just trying to go. And my friend's like, I can't watch. I can't look. I'm like, then close your eyes. I was like, we're not going to get hurt. I know we're not going to get hurt. Twice, I almost lost control of the car. But just quick thinking, it's just like you're in like a second state of mind. You're like, zip, zop, zoop, zop. Just something about it, man. It's just I got out of it in some way. I like don't even know how. I pull into a hotel. There's like 3 hotels. And I was like, I need a room. And the guy's like, hey, pal, I'm really sorry. We're booked. We're booked all the way up. And I'm like, man, it's too dangerous to drive an hour away. And he's like, oh, my goodness, I'm so sorry. I said, what about the other hotels? He goes, I don't know if they have any vacancy or not, but you can check. I'm like, all right, thanks, man. Be safe. And I dip out. Super sweet. Second hotel, a lot of the same as the first story, but not anything crazy. And mind you, I'm on edge. Like, I'm dealing with making sure I don't kill anybody in the car, making sure that I don't die, making sure that I can get home. Let's say we landed at like 8:50. Let's say it normally takes me about an hour and a half to get home from the airport, right? I'm on edge. I'm afraid. I got a person in the car with me who's crying. I'm trying not to cry. I'm trying to pretend like I'm not terrified because I'm driving. You know what I mean? You got to just like you put on a brave face. And I walk into this third hotel, and I was like, you got any vacancy? Like, I just walk in, I was like, anything available. I didn't even say hello. And lady's like, I'm booked out. And I went, oh. I was like, it's too dangerous to drive an hour away. And this other lady goes, well, how is that my fault? And I went, like, on edge completely. I go, I know it ain't your fault. I'm just stating what my predicament is. And I'm like looking her dead in the eyes. I say this, and the other lady's like, well, I can help you maybe find something. And I'm like, thank you. And like, I was so livid at this old lady. Like, I almost wanted to say something to her. And then we just kept driving. We got back in. It started to slow down. And I just said, if we just keep heading south, the storm is heading north, so we might be able to get out of it. I got off that plane, let's just say 9. I didn't get home till almost 2 a.m. Just a shit show, man. I've never had that experience traveling. I love flying. I love travel. Like, I will put up with the shitty seat and the baby crying and I'll put up with all that stuff to go experience something new. That is one time where I was like, I had an easier time flying to and from France. I went a few states away. It's like a 3-hour flight. Just crazy. Just nuts. Bonkers. That's all I have for you guys this week. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Oh, I didn't even bring up the laptop. I should have something with the laptop soon. Whatever. We could talk about it next week. I might have it next week. Who knows? I hope you're well. That's all I have for you this week. If you like the intro music, it's by the one and only Shane Ivers. The song's called Feather Duster. But you can get all of his free music at silvermansounds.com/free music. Link in the description below to my Twitter, the show's Twitter, and Kyle's Twitter. The Patreon is down there as well. Again, thank you to the Patreon. I love you. There's the link to the Redbubble down there. A link to the Discord. Join the Discord. I hope to see you guys next week. You guys look well. You seem great. Call somebody you love and tell them that you love them. I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye now.
Atomic Radio Hour Podcast. This has been a production made by your friends at Ghoulman Entertainment.